just gonna start off the run. So this is Luigi's mansion. I'm A2Rhombus. Here commentating with me is JDog653.
Channel switch.
Hello.
So we're just gonna start off the run by entering the wrong door. Alright, we're gonna put out these candles, and that is the first part of gameplay.
User left your channel.
What we're doing is we're actually playing on New Game Plus, and that's what we do with all of our speedruns, because the vacuum is actually 1.5 times stronger and results in a much faster speedrun overall in both categories.
Yep. Basically what happens in Hidden Mansion, which is the New Game Plus, is you get a stronger vacuum, but the enemy AI is actually slightly harder. So I'm playing on English. You can play on Japanese, which makes the text faster. I think it saves about 20 seconds in any percent.
And it saves close to 45 in 100%.
Yes. Alright.
Specific text skips that are specific only to the Japanese version.
And if anyone has any questions in chat as the run goes on, feel free to ask. We're just getting through the first area here, which is the easiest part of the game. Hopefully, we're gonna do our first double here in a second. So we're gonna face away. We just manipulate the movement of the ghosts a lot in this run in order to get certain doubles, and speed stuff up quite a bit. Alright, so far we've gotten the first 2 doubles.
So in this game, ghosts are only allowed to spawn in darkness and behind your back. So by standing in specific spots, we can kind of tell them where we want them to spawn, which helps them group together and get doubles, triples, and even, I believe, 6 at one point if we go to the when we go to the rooftop.
Yes. Alright, so we've gotten every double so far, which is good. In practice earlier, I missed a few of them. So now we're going to start moving on to some portrait ghosts, which are like the mini-bosses, you could say, in this game.
I believe there are 19 in the entire game.
That sounds right.
How many do you get in any percent out of those 19 portrait ghosts?
Well, you skip a few that are optional. So you skip 1, 2, 3. I can't do the math off the top of my head. I'm not sure on the exact amount, but you do skip ghosts. Alright, so this is the first mini-boss here, Neville, and he's gone. So, yep. What I did there is I faced away from him and I pointed at the ceiling with my vacuum. That's just a little bit of manipulation, so I catch him as soon as he shows his heart. In this game, you can only catch these bosses. You can only catch all ghosts, really, and when they show their heart, which usually you do using your flashlight. You shine your flashlight at them to stun the ghosts. But these ones you have to do a special thing for each one.
You have to find their weakness to get
basically.
them to show their hearts.
So in that one I opened a window and let in a breeze and made her show her heart. Can I explain money for any percent? Right, okay, so there's 2 main categories for this game, which are any percent and 100%. Hold on, let me do something real quick here. So I'm manipulating where this ball is. Oh, and that's a little bit tricky. And we spawn, this is the first area boss of the game. His name is Chauncey. I think he's a guy. Who knows? Alright. So we're now entering the first boss fight of the game. But basically, in 100%, you need to get 100 million gold. Or whatever, G. Whichever the money system is in this game.
Plus every portrait ghost.
Yes, and you get every portrait ghost. Yeah, and all 50 boos. In any percent.
A rank. You get a big mansion at the end, and everyone's happy.
Right. And in any percent, you just have to beat the game. Which does not require you to get any money or pearls that are dropped by bosses. Alright, so I'm doing some things here to manipulate this boss fight and make it a little bit faster. Hopefully I can catch this ball here. Alright, I got it. And we purposefully dropped Chauncey at over 50 HP.
Yeah, anything above 50 HP.
Because once he drops under 50 HP, he'll actually throw an extra cycle of rocking chairs, which ends up being slower, even though the rocking chairs are faster. And this allows us to do a very fast 2 cycle of Chauncey.
And even people who've been using perfect inputs with tasks still haven't been able to get a 1 cycle on Chauncey. The game forcibly breaks you off. I think the lowest anyone has ever gotten is like 8 HP. I could be completely wrong.
Somewhere between 3 and 8, I think.
It's impossible. The game will not let you.
Alright, so now we have finished the first area boss of the game, and that is the entirety of Area 1 completed. It's an extremely short area. And we're just gonna mash through some text here, and then we're gonna have a cutscene. Right here. After I'm done
What's
mashing.
really nice about mashing text in this game is that there are actually 2 different buttons that scroll text. On the GameCube control, you've got A and B. So people have come up with some really sophisticated mashing techniques, and you can mash incredibly quickly by alternating A and B with your thumbs in just incredible rhythm. You've got V-Man 3000, he can mash so hard I can't even believe it. And he just flies through all that text, especially later in the game. You've just got about 40 seconds of straight hardcore button mashing, and the faster you can mash, the faster you can get that ghost, and it's a huge advantage.
Alright, people are saying different amounts of the lowest that Chauncey has gotten.
It doesn't matter the lowest. The important thing is that I think it's been proven impossible.
Yes, it is not possible to 1 cycle Chauncey there.
Like, look at all the different numbers people are throwing out there.
Yep. Alright, so now we're moving on to Area 2. The game is still pretty easy at this point. What I'm gonna do here is I'm going to point my flashlight at the ceiling and do some fancy footwork with my C-stick here. And this is to prevent ghosts from spawning in the hallways that will scare Luigi and waste about a second per scare. You might see some of them later if my manipulation isn't great.
There are some ghosts that come down from the ceiling to scare you, but since they're in direct flashlight, the game won't let them spawn. So if you keep your back to the wall, they can't spawn behind you.
Yep.
And if you keep your flashlight on the ceiling, they can't spawn above you. You're effectively cutting them off from spawning entirely, if you do it correctly.
Yep. There are some that are kind of in tricky locations that will spawn no matter what, and it's all just based on RNG. And hopefully we won't get any of those later on. Alright, so now we're in the ballroom, which is really the first part of the run that actually gets kind of tricky, and I've just started that off horribly by missing the first double completely. But I've gotten that second one, and I'm just gonna get this guy again here. Missing doubles in the ballroom, once you're an extremely high level runner of this game, can cost a significant amount of time. And I've also missed the third double. Oh jeez. Alright. So now we have our first pretty large bit of RNG here with these ballroom ghosts called the Warlindas. If I'm lucky, they will show their heart right about now, and they did. There is a slight chance that they won't show their hearts right away, and you have to wait an extra 10 seconds, I think? 5 to 10 seconds?
It's completely RNG dependent.
Yeah,
Like,
which...
there's nothing you can do to influence it.
There's been some theories on RNG manipulation for it, but I don't know if any of them have been 100% accurate. Alright, so there's a pretty tricky double in this room. Hopefully I'll be able to get it. So I phase myself into the wall to spawn both of them at once. And I move up and down, and I got it. Sweet. And, okay. So, now we're going to move this wall out of the way, and we're going to press a button that will actually spawn all of the boos into the game, and I'll explain them in a minute as soon as I open this up here.
So to beat the game as fast as you can, the game requires you have 40 out of the 50, or 80% of all the boos.
Yep.
That means that the 80% runners basically pick and choose the 40 easiest boos to get and save all the really hard ones for those silly 100% runners. But you'll see that some of the rooms that Rhombus clears, he won't be catching the boos because they have too much HP or they're in a really bad spot where they can just pop through a wall and you'll have to waste 30 seconds going to get them. So there's like a designated route on which boos are the best to get to make the route as optimized as possible.
Alright, so we're just gonna move on here and mash some text. After this text is mashed, we're gonna get the first 5 boos in the game. Hopefully, where the boos spawn is completely RNG dependent, so hopefully I'll get some good RNG here. And if I'm lucky, I'll actually be able to show off a little bit of a text skip here. And it's not looking like I'm going to be able to do it because you might be under this table. What you can do is, if the boo is not in that table, you can pull off the cloth on the table almost all the way, so that when you catch the boo, you can pull off the cloth the rest of the way as you catch the boo, and it'll actually skip that text that EGAD just showed me there. So far I've gotten pretty much perfect RNG. Which is rare. So hopefully I get good RNG in this next room as well. Alright, so what that was a boo decoy. There's 2 things in each room with boos. Basically, there's the actual boo, and Nice. The actual boo, and then there's a decoy boo, and they both show up exactly the same on the radar, so there's no way to guarantee you'll find the boo first, you just have to rely on RNG.
There's also a bomb that they use to troll you.
Yes,
so
there can the decoy.
It'll blow you up.
The decoy can either be a ball or a bomb, and I don't know. The bomb very rarely hits.
Hurts you because you can get out of the way fast.
Alright, so I'm having a little bit of trouble spawning this ghost. Oh right, I should probably explain what I'm doing with my vacuum while I'm catching these ghosts. There's a strategy that was found, I'm not sure who found it or when it was found. Who's that? Coopery. So there's a strategy you can use where basically when you start catching a boo, he'll stop moving for a second. So what you can do is you can abuse that by holding L and R at the same time and just releasing R slightly every few HP. And so the game will think that you're just starting to catch the boo a bunch of times. And you'll end up holding him in the same place. But that only works for 15 boo cackles, and you can actually get 2 cackles in a row, which causes problems for some higher HP boos later on in the game.
Because once those 15 cackles are gone, they're basically going to break off regardless and fly somewhere else, having you to chase them, and it's annoying.
Thank you so much, Boom Doctor, for the compliment on the commentary. I'm trying my best. Alright, so there's some pretty tricky doubles here in this room that hopefully, if I can manipulate them. Alright, got the first one.
Now the cool thing about the mirror room is that you can't see the ghost. You have to rely on the mirror to show you where the reflections are, which makes it a lot harder.
Yep.
a lot of trouble.
Alright.
You know, getting my flashlight on them.
So now we have the first element metal of the game, which is the fire metal. There are 3 different elements in this game: fire, water, and ice. Once you get the metal, you can get element ghosts out of certain locations, like this torch over here. And then it allows you to shoot fire, which I'm going to be using to light these candles. And this Boo RNG... oh, where is he going? Alright, so the Boos can move, which causes some problems. Usually it's telegraphed by an audio cue, but sometimes I might miss those. Alright, so we're gonna light these candles in order to spawn a key in this room. They make good use in this game of, as soon as you get the element, you get to use it quite a bit. So that's a mouse there. I don't want to suck up that mouse because it'll put money everywhere, but that doesn't cause a problem because we don't have to use our vacuum in this hallway at all. That mouse spawning is RNG dependent and actually helps quite a bit in 100% if it spawns, but in any percent you don't need it.
So
Alright. Go on.
So you might be noticing every time he goes from a dark, a lighter room to a dark room, you see he's like throwing fire out there. That's what we call the flashlight skip. If you leave a light room and go into a dark room, Luigi will stand still and do an animation of pulling out his flashlight. But if you spam the L button while going through the door, you can actually shoot out fire, ice, or water, whichever you have in your vacuum, before that animation happens, and then it'll just skip the animation, which saves a little bit less than half a second, but if you do it for every time you go through a door, you know, that time's gonna add up.
Yes. Alright, so we're getting Shivers here, who is pretty much a free area boss. All you have to do is be in this room when he sits on his torch accidentally, and he'll show his heart and you can suck him up. Alright, so we're just gonna grab this key. And now we're going to move on to Melody's room after I get the Boo in this next room real quick. Melody, you basically have a chance of her playing one of 2 different songs. One of them is slightly better than the other. She can either play the water theme from the original Super Mario Bros., I believe, or a song from Super Mario Bros. 3. Basically, water is very slightly faster because you can just mash A and select the first option she puts up, whereas if it's the song from Super Mario Bros. 3, you have to press up and then select the bottom option. So we're just turning on these instruments by hitting them, and you'll notice this little Mario tune that's probably familiar to you.
Probably familiar.
Probably familiar. Alright, so we didn't get water, but that doesn't make much of a difference. It just means that I have a slight chance of screwing up and selecting the wrong option.
Yeah, if you select the wrong option, she's so insulted she'll kick you out of her room. You have to turn all the instruments back on it.
And yet, if you select the right option, she'll attack you with her music sheets. But that is good, because once you suck all of them up, she'll be so disheartened that you can just go ahead and suck her up. So the Boo is moved somewhere. He's in one of the instruments, which is not great RNG, but if we're lucky, he'll be in one of these drums or in the piano. Alright, so he was in the first drum there. The best RNG you can get is he'll be in the chest to the right of the piano there. And you can just get him right away. But I definitely did not get the worst RNG there. Alright, so now here's the first ghost that we skip. This is Lugs. Say hi to Lugs. You'll be seeing him for now, and now he's gone. You won't be seeing him anymore in the rest of the run, because we just completely skip him. Right there was the first elemental ghost, where basically you have to put their element out. That was an ice ghost, so you have to melt the ice in their heart before you can suck them up.
There's actually a skip you can do if you if you spam fire right as the ghost spawns. His heart will melt instantly, and you can catch him without having to wait for his 5 health to decrease while his heart melts.
Yes, and that's exactly what I did right there.
VLC doesn't want to work for me, so I didn't see that.
Alright, so we didn't get great RNG there. He was under the cloth. Sometimes he'll be in the oven, which is a lot faster, but it doesn't make much of a difference. Especially if I'm not really going for a PB, but I will try and obviously go the fastest possible.
So already we have 2 out of the 3 elements. We've got fire and water, and then ice is coming up pretty soon.
Yep,
But we
and
get
we're
all
just...
3 of them pretty quickly.
we're manipulating this dog here. We let him eat me in order to save a cycle there, and also he'll be right here when we kill Mr. Bones, and he'll start eating that bone, and we can suck him up from there. Alright, so we're moving on to the second area boss of the game here. I'm going to quickly do a manipulation of these bones positions here, and we should be able to get a double. Yep. And after I'm done with this, we're going to get a short cutscene here for Bogmire, who is the second area boss and probably my least favorite. There was a strategy sort of invented by a fellow runner of this game named the Official Skazi, which not a lot of people use, but I found it to be pretty useful, and it creates a pretty consistent one cycle, but I still might not get the one cycle depending on where Bogmire decides to go here. So if I'm lucky, Bogmire won't drag me too far and I'll be able to get a one cycle here. Getting an extra cycle wastes a few seconds, and often will cost someone a run. And that was actually a very terrible first cycle. Bogmire did not go in an ideal direction there. Hopefully I can still get a 2 cycle. As long as he doesn't drag me through these guys. Alright, we got a 2 cycle. Bogmire is definitely my least favorite area boss. Some people think he's really easy. I don't think he is.
It all depends on how he treats you. He can be really nice, or he can be really terrible.
There's even a chance that he can just run straight into the wall and you can just grab him and he'll be done for. So now we have another cutscene here. This one's slightly longer because we caught more ghosts in this area. So we have an extra few seconds to just chill out here.
It's a good break because this is the end of halfway through the game.
It's
2 out of 4.
technically halfway through the game, but the rest of the run takes a little bit longer. So we're about 20-ish minutes through the run by now, and the rest of the run will take about 40 minutes.
Boom Doctor, it depends on how high tier of a runner you are. For somebody like V-Man, 15 seconds is absolutely going to destroy a run. But when you're playing at a lower level, like what we play at, 15 seconds, like, it sucks that you lose 15 seconds, but it's not going to kill the run.
And again, it always depends where that 15 seconds is. Because if you lose 15 seconds at the start of a run, it's gonna be a little bit hard to make that up, but you're not gonna have nearly as much trouble as if you are 15 seconds behind going into, like, Area 4. Alright, so now...
The runs in general are pretty optimized at this point.
Yeah.
Especially any percent and 100%.
The world record for any percent is probably less than a minute away from the optimal possible time here. So what I just did there actually is I used my element to skip climbing down that ladder. You can just fall straight down that well, which saves like 5 seconds easily just by opening your element and falling down. We're gonna have to climb back up, but you don't have to climb down.
But here is where we see what actually happened to Mario. He was kidnapped by King Boo, the guy with the crown, and he was stuck in a painting.
Right.
So Luigi gets a little taste of that, and then kind of knows where to go from there.
And it's funny because if you press A in this game, when you're not interacting with something, Luigi will call Mario's name, and it's kind of funny because after this point, Luigi already knows where Mario is. But you can still call. So I'm just manipulating things there. There's a ceiling ghost that can spawn on that tree branch. That I just did a little bit of movement there to prevent him from spawning. So we've run on this treadmill here to get a key. It's an optional key, but it saves a lot of time because if you don't get it, you'd have to run all the way around, go back outside, and run around. So we're gonna do a skip here, if I can get it. You can shoot water straight through the ceiling there and put out the fire on this door up here, and that allows you to go straight through the door.
Because it takes like 5 seconds for the smoke on the door to clear.
Yeah. So I'm doing... This isn't the fastest strat for these ghosts, but it is relatively fast. There's another strat you can do where you... oh, great. I've caused him to despawn. If you despawn that ghost, it causes problems because he spawns in an unoptimal place the second time. So now we're getting ice, the third element and final element in the game.
Rhombus, what's your any percent PV?
My ending percent personal best time is 1 minute, 1 hour and 5 minutes and 54 seconds. Which is
about 7 minutes off world record.
around 7 minutes off world record. Okay, so this Boo is probably the biggest troll in the game because there's so many different places he could be in, and I'm having trouble trying to find him here. Oh boy. Alright, he was in the ice bucket. Usually the ice bucket is the best place for him to be, but if he's not there instantly... Okay, that's strange. Alright. That ghost is also a really big troll because you can lose him at 0 HP if you're sucking up the cloth on the table while trying to get him, which is what just happened there. Which is okay because then we can get him in this room coming up after this one. It does waste time, but it's not anywhere near a run killer. There's some boos in this game that if you lose them, it pretty much kills the run. There are obviously ways to find them, but they all cost like upwards of 30 seconds to find. Alright, so here...
Throughout the game,
go on.
we've been finding discarded items that belong to Mario. First we found his hat in the washing machine. Then we found a note that he wrote in a birdhouse. And we're going to find a star, his glove, and a shoe. And what these do is later in the run, we're going to talk to a fortune teller, and she's going to channel energy out of these items and give us more information about where Mario is. And this is completely unskippable, which means if we collect all 5 items, we just sit there and spam tech skips so we can get her to speak faster. Unfortunately, we can't skip it at all, and it's terrible.
Yeah. Alright, so you saw that there was that 0 HP Boo that I just caught from the previous room. Something weird happens when a Boo is at 0 HP, that you can actually catch them before their cutscene happens, where they come out. So you can just open it straight up and just catch them instantly, which is nice, because it helps you save a little bit of time after missing a ghost. So this hallway is the biggest troll of a hallway in the game, and I managed to get through it unscathed. If you get hit by any of those mice, and they are everywhere, those mice, what candle am I missing? This one. Then you'll get hurt, and there's like 2 ceiling ghosts and just a regular hallway ghost that can spawn there that cause massive problems. and scares. Like I said earlier, the ceiling ghosts that can cause scares and waste a little bit of time. So I didn't get a perfect angle there, which causes me to have to do some strange things to get that double, and it didn't really work out. This double I should be able to get fine, which I did. And then there's another little cool, I think this part looks cool, in my opinion. You spawn 3 ghosts at once, and then you like get this one come over here, and then you get these 2 at once. It's just a cool bit of manipulation that I like to execute. Alright, so we got great Boo RNG there. Being in that, he can be in any one of these candles, and the Boo radar has like a slight delay on it, so it's kind of hard to tell exactly which one he's in. So now we're moving on to the moon. So we look through this telescope, and there's just a pretty annoyingly long cutscene here where he looks at the moon. And we're gonna blow up the moon by shooting a comet at it. This moon causes a lot of problems for first-time runners and casual playthroughs because the angle you have to aim is not what it seems like. So you see, it looks like I'm aiming to the left of the moon here. And I am. I've managed to miss the moon. That does happen. It's a really strange angle you have to get here. Alright, so that time I've hit it. Took 2 tries. How can ghosts be real if our eyes aren't real? That was a good question.
But our eyes are real. So are ghosts.
Alright, so we're gonna do a little bit of a... Oh, and I messed it up. There's an animation cancel you can do there. I went too fast, actually, if you can believe that too fast is a thing you can do. I managed to press it too fast, but there's a skip you can do there where you shoot a fireball and then take out your vacuum, and it skips the animation of taking out the vacuum, which saves about half a second. Alright, so this is where that key that we got from the treadmill comes into play. We can just go straight through that door instead of having to go all the way around. And we're going to go into the projector room, which has the 2 trickiest... well, one of them's a double and one of them's a triple. I think they're the hardest in the game. So there's 2 singles here that we're just going to grab. And then I'm going to attempt to manipulate the positioning of the ghosts in order to get a double and then a triple. Alright, so I got that first double. I'm gonna grab these hearts while I can, or one of them. And then we spawn all 3 of these at once, and hopefully, if I manipulate them properly, I get 2 of them at once, but I did not get the triple, but he didn't despawn. Sometimes they can despawn, which is worse, but if they don't despawn, you can
get them fairly quickly.
You can get them very quickly, but you can also... Whoops, I forgot that there was not text there. Trying to commentate at the same time as the run. So what we just got there was a glove. We have one more item of Mario's to get, which is his shoe. And then after that, we can go to Clairvoya. So the reason we didn't go back to the other section of Area 1 at the beginning when we first started getting boos is because it's more optimal to actually go and get the rest of the Area 1 boos while doing this, because there's a new room in Area 1 that we can go into where we get the shoe, which I'm going to go into right after this ghost.
So the room where we get the shoe is the room held by the twins, Orville and Henry. I think those are their names, and they're named after Henry Ford and Orville Wright.
Orville Wright, and you'll see
because
why.
They drive a car and fly an airplane. It's a cute little nod.
Yeah.
The game put in.
I think that's cool. As kind of a history nerd, I think that's cool. Alright, so there's a little bit of manipulation I can do here to actually be able to tell which boxes they're hiding in. You can actually shoot fire at the boxes or vacuum them up or whatever in order to, oops, be able to tell which ones they're in, because the ones that shake are the ones that they're in. So there's two. This is the first instance in which we have two mini bosses in one room. There's another instance later on in Area 4 where we have to get three in one room. There have been hypothesized strats to double these guys and even maybe triple the 3 later on. But so far, none of them have really been implemented in the run unless they've managed to catch both of them on accident. Because none of the strats that have been thought of have been completely consistent. So this game has a bit of an annoying feature that you may have just noticed there. The vacuum will auto-lock onto certain objects. It'll auto-lock onto pearls, hearts, gold bars, gems, anything of the sort. And that causes problems when trying to catch boos, because the auto-lock on money and hearts and all that is actually a stronger auto-lock than the auto-lock on boos. It's a very annoying thing, and you'll see me suck up pearls even though I don't need them, in order to try and avoid them causing problems, especially in a room later on that has an ice floor. Alright, so I'm trying to get a text skip here. Let's see if I can get it. It's the same possible text skip as earlier, and I managed to get it, which is good, in the first Boo room, except this one's a little bit easier, because no matter what RNG you get, you can still get it. So now...
I also find it easier just to suck up the bedsheet.
Yeah.
For some reason it works better for me.
So now we have Clairvoya, and Clairvoya is the section of the game that we mentioned earlier. She is the fortune teller, and this is basically 45 seconds to a minute and a half of just straight mashing. It's probably the worst part of the run. This is where the time save with the Japanese version comes in, because there's less text in the Japanese version.
And it scrolls faster.
And it does scroll faster. So you can get through this text about 15 to 20 seconds faster.
So since we got 5 different items, we have to speak to her 5 different times, and on the 5th time she will say something along the lines of, "My power is drained, send me back to the painting," and that's when she will allow you to suck her up in the vacuum. But until then, you just have to mash through a bunch of text.
Yes. She's a completely free mini-boss, and she just straight up allows you to vacuum her up. At the end, because she runs out of power, and that was her one purpose. So she does not care about being sucked up, unlike all of the others that will go to great extents to kill you in order to not be vacuumed up.
The funny thing is, though, she basically tells Luigi to put her in the vacuum, and then she resists when you vacuum her up. I think that's just normal Ghost AI, but I find it funny.
Yeah, that is a little bit interesting. Alright, so that was the last text. Now she's saying something along the lines of her power being drained. And now we're going to be able to suck her up. She has some of the weirdest ability, like the weirdest resistance AI there. And it's kind of weird to vacuum her up. And you see I'm getting the pearls in this room because catching the Boo in this room can be kind of annoying. Alright, we managed to get him. So now we're going to go up into the Safari room, which has some elemental ghosts that are pretty tricky to get, but there's a skip that we can do, that element skip that we mentioned earlier back before Bogmire, where if you stop shooting your element soon enough, they they won't have the 5 HP drain that they normally would have.
And this Safari room leads up to everybody's favorite area boss, Bulasis, who you will see soon. There's a very good reason that we call him Trollasis. All he does is troll.
There's a very good chance that I will not be able to get a 1 cycle for him, but I will try my best. There's a special strategy you can use that allows you to get him in 1 cycle, but sometimes just their AI will not let you.
There are 3 possible ways you can do it, and you'll see more of this during the fight. There's big Bulasis and little Bulasis, and if the way that you fight him is you pop Bulasis like a balloon, and dependent on how many little ghosts are left, they will be more or less aggressive. So if Rhombus manages to get 11 out of the 15, that means there will be 4 left, and they'll have their more aggressive AI, which is a lot better than having the less aggressive ones that just float around, because the aggressive ones get straight to the point and get them faster than the non-aggressive ones.
And you can manipulate them, because the more aggressive ones will actually run away from your ice, which means that you can't just go after them with the ice. So I'm just going to activate this cutscene here. So you can actually manipulate them using your vacuum. And get them to attack you, and during their attack they can't run away, so you can shoot them with ice and get them then.
You know, the best way that I found to get the aggressive ones is if you turn your back on them, that will alert their AI that, oh, this is a really good time to attack this guy. So they'll lunge at you, and then you can ice them really quickly. And it's actually really optimal.
But hopefully I won't even have to do any of that, because the strategy that I use should be able to get him in 1 cycle, but there's a decent chance that it might take 2. So I move back using my vacuum here, and I get a pretty precise angle here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot a ball of ice, and I'm going to suck them all up, and that looked good. Oh, I'm missing one of them somewhere. I'm not sure where the last one is. I don't know. There he is. That took long enough. Alright, so what happened there is I got all but one of them, which is kind of a troll, because if you get all but one of them in the first cycle, they'll still have the mass AI, so they won't try and attack you. So you kind of just have to find them, and that one trolled me a little bit. I got a little bit scared there that I might have broken the game, and I had caught all of them and it didn't know. But I've never seen that before, so I'm glad that that didn't happen.
All in all, very solid angle and Bulasis hit. All but one, even though it trolls you, is still really good.
It's still pretty fast. It probably would have been faster to miss like 2 of them, because I would have been able to find the other one, and they tend to group together. It's just easier to find them if there's more of them. But if there's more than one of them, there's a chance that they could group back together and you'll have to pop them again.
But yes, it still was the 1 cycle, which is all that counts.
Alright, so this is another little cutscene here between areas, and now we're moving on to the last area of the game, which is the hardest area. So now things in the game actually start to get pretty difficult. So we're gonna start off this area by going straight up to the entrance to Area 4 and triggering a blackout where all of the lights in the mansion that we've turned on turn back off, and the ghost spawn rate goes way up. So there'll be ghosts everywhere, but you may have noticed, before I entered the Bulasis fight, I switched to sidestep mode, which basically means in the dark, You've seen me going around, and I normally, as I'm walking right now, he turns where I go. But now you can see he'll always stay pointing in the same direction no matter what direction I'm moving in. And that helps us be able to manipulate the ghost spawning, and hopefully we won't get any spawns.
Because every spawn scares Luigi and wastes a few seconds. So if you can walk in sidestep with your back to the wall, your flashlight will be pointing off out in the distance so they can't spawn in front of you. And your back is to the wall and they can't spawn in the wall. So you're effectively cutting off all their spawn points.
Indeed. Alright, so Luigi, being the scaredy cat that he is really scared from the lightning strike. But then he just gets right up and he's perfectly fine, as usual. So we're just gonna sidestep our way over here, and we won't get any spawns on the balcony. It's impossible to get any spawns unless I move. And also in this room, there shouldn't be any spawns because I won't move from the start, and I'll just mirror warp straight out of this room. We mirror warp a lot in this run because it takes you back to the main room, which allows for a lot of time saves. Like there, I would have had to run all the way downstairs. So this room, I'm just going to try and move my flashlight in a way that no ghosts spawn, and that was good. And now we have an RNG mini-boss here. He can show his heart anywhere from instantly, as soon as you enter the door, to 20 seconds after you enter. And I got pretty decent RNG there, so now we're just going to catch him. His name is Grimly. He has a warm place in all the runners of this game's heart, and yet such a bittersweet place.
Just that you can't control it. Almost everything else you can control your fate, but with Grimly, it's just you sit there and you wait until he's damn good and ready to show his heart.
Yep. Alright, so now we're gonna just do normal hallway manipulation, pointing my flashlight at the ceiling. And we're gonna head down and we're gonna turn the power back on. So we just enter this room and move straight over, and now the power's back on.
And here we see every LM runner's favorite boo, the
Oh,
breaker room boo.
oh sure, totally.
200 health, and can go into an unaccessible area if you don't, get it perfectly. This is gonna be an experience.
Well, it is an inaccessible area currently, but there is you do get back there later, and the it is possible you can catch him again because it's impossible. Well, it is possible to one cycle, but it's RNG dependent whether or not he'll attack you, and then you have to do very precise manipulation. I haven't been able to do it personally.
No, I've gotten close. I got 15 health away from one cycling it, but I've never done it.
There have been people, a lot of top tier runners have managed to do it.
But getting him to 30 health is really good. But that's just less stuff we have to do when we come back to the basement.
That's a ghost that where double cackles finally come into play. Because if he cackles twice in a row, you won't be able to get as much health away from him because you won't be able to hold him in place as long. And there's two more boos that happens to, and their one cycle saves a lot of time if you can get it. They have exactly 150 HP, so if you get any double cackles, you most likely will not be able to two-cycle them, or one-cycle them, I mean. And one of them is in said ice room that I mentioned earlier, so it's pretty hard to get. So now we're running back up to Area 4. Now we're actually going to enter Area 4. We haven't been in Area 4 yet. I guess you could say, yeah, the storage room that we just went into is part of Area 4. But now we're really getting into the bulk of Area 4. The roof and the upstairs area, where we will meet those three mini-bosses that I mentioned, which are the toy soldiers. and they are quite the nightmare if you cannot manipulate them in the right way. Hopefully I'll be able to get them just fine. But there is a chance that I'll drop them and I'll have to 2-cycle 1 or 2 of them.
The optimal strategy for these soldiers is to get one of them and then get the other 2 stuck behind a table, because they've got little cork guns, and if you're sucking up one of their friends, then they will try and hit you with the corks. So getting them stuck behind the table prevents them from hitting you and allows you to suck all 3 of them up individually without getting hit.
Alright, so I've managed to 1-cycle one of them, which is good. Okay, so now I'm actually getting 2 of them at once, which is not what I planned to happen, and it causes problems because they tend to go in different directions. I did not mean to do that, so we're going to have to 2-cycle these guys. But I did manage to get a decent amount of HP off of them. Oh, and I've been hit by the cork gun. These guys are probably the biggest trolls in the game. Because there's no way to perfectly manipulate them. So now we're moving up to the roof, and this is a really cool strategy. Hopefully I can get it perfectly. We call this strategy Boston Burn, and it's because we use fire, and we just will burn all of these guys, and then we'll move them all here, and I'll let them hit me.
This was a cool strategy found by a guy named Boston Brew, which is why it's the Boston Burn.
And I've managed to miss 2 of them somehow. That went well, but I somehow managed to miss 2 of them, which isn't optimal. Okay, this Boston Burn did not go well. Sometimes they just won't be in a great position. Most of the time you get all 6 of them at once, and it makes a very satisfying sound. And now we have these 2 ice ghosts, which are just pretty simple double. Alright. Alright, and after we get this key, we're going to go and head to the armor room, which is maybe the worst room in the game. A lot of rooms are probably the worst room in the game. But the armor room especially, because there's chances that when you have to shake the armor to find the ghosts, they could hit you, and then there's also a chance that the boo in that room, which has 150 HP, could escape into the room behind this one, which is another optional mini-boss that you won't even see. But if he goes into that room, and I've managed to slip on a banana peel, so we'll just burn him to death. And we manipulate these guys a little bit in order to get a double here.
Can you burn a dead thing to death?
That's a good question. According to this game, you can. Alright, so that room went pretty smooth. So now let's see if we can find and 1-cycle this boo. And that was a perfect 1-cycle. That 1-cycle is really sketchy, and if he double cackles at all, which seems to be complete RNG, you won't be able to get him. So that was it might not have looked difficult, but that one, you have to have some pretty precise timing to get that one. Alright, so now we're gonna go back downstairs and finish up the rest of Area 4. So we're gonna have to get that ghost the boo that we missed earlier, that we let go from the breaker room. So there should be 2 boos in this next room that we enter. And I'm going to attempt to get a triple here. This triple is kind of tough because you can't get close to these ghosts or they'll grab you. Alright, I got it. I rarely get that triple.
That's a very difficult triple. I need to put some practice into that one.
And this ghost is actually a bit of a magnet. He'll actually pull you towards him, and I did not drop him at an optimal HP there. So that might end up actually being a 3 cycle. There's ways you can manipulate that ghost to get him down a lot of HP, because he's a very slow moving ghost, so he won't escape as easily. And I forgot to get ice. So that other lower health HP, I can't talk. That other lower HP Boo was the one that we let go from the breaker room, so we have him now. Alright. So now there's 2 ghosts in the ice room, which isn't ideal. But I'll do my best to get them. And if either of them go back into this room that I'm currently in, excuse me, if any of them go back into that room, I will actually go back. I will come back for them later. It's faster to go up and fight Van Gore and then come and then get them. So this room is a bit of a nightmare because it has probably the most annoying mini boss here. His name is Weston. And it also has icicles in it that fall from the ceiling. And I didn't one cycle him. But the icicles, if they hit you, do 40 damage on English Hidden Mansion, which is quite detrimental. So in this room, it's pretty essential that I pick up all of the pearls because the auto-lock in this room causes many, many problems. And you're just gonna slide off the screen there. So now we have a cutscene that has nothing in it. That's probably my favorite cutscene in the game.
Interesting fact about the different versions of Luigi's Mansion. In the Hidden Mansion, which is New Game Plus, on the US version, all damage is double. So a lot of runners who start in the English version die a lot. But in the Japanese version, damage is no longer doubled, so I find it even easier to speedrun on Japanese because I only take half damage, and it's awesome.
Alright, so we've managed to get 2 double cackles on this 150 boost, so I'm not going to one cycle him. But I managed to finish up that cycle on the Boo that had 193 HP on him, which is not easy. I just barely got him. So, like I said earlier, he went back into that room, so we're going to come back and get him after we finish Van Gore. So now we move on to Van Gore, and Van Gore is another ghost, and he is the one that's been creating all of the ghosts in the rest of the mansion. Because he paints pictures, he's an artist, he paints pictures of ghosts, and then they come to life. Or come to afterlife. And he's the last mini-boss in the game, and after we get him, we can go and fight the final boss. But you see, I have 39 boos, you can see at the bottom of the screen, and you need 40 to finish the game. So I'm going to go and get that boo that I missed. So Van Gore's room is kind of like an area boss in himself. He's technically the area boss, because he gives you a big key, but he doesn't have a cutscene after him, because you then go straight from him to fight the final boss. So I guess technically there's 5 areas in this game, but the 5th one is just the final boss fight. So this boss fight can be a bit of a troll, because you basically fight all of the smaller ghosts that you've fought throughout the course of the run, and they all come in 3s. So if I can get these triples, I got the first one. I missed that one a lot, surprisingly. So I'm just gonna focus a bit during this. Alright, so we've missed only one triple so far, which is really good. This one can be a little bit sketchy, but I should be able to get it. Yep. And then the last one is free, because they're just ceiling ghosts, and you can just burn them with the fire that I've purposefully saved.
Which is actually the best way to do it.
Because you can just straight get them instantly.
Because they have 0 HP, so any sort of damage, they're instantly dead.
Yep. Alright, so now we're gonna suck up Van Gogh here. And we're gonna grab the key that comes out of this painting here. And now we're gonna head back down. Alright, so we're still gonna have to get that extra boo, which will waste a little bit of time, and then we can fight the final boss. And the final boss has some manipulation you can do. There's a lot of it that's pretty complicated. I'll do my best to explain it. Basically, if you stand far enough away from him, he'll throw bombs at you instead of like breathing fire. The final boss is Bowser, by the way.
But it's not Bowser.
But it's not Bowser. Bowser's sort of implied in a Mario game.
It's Bowser, but he's just a costume.
He's
Really King Boo.
It's King Boo cosplaying as Bowser.
I like that.
So basically, he'll throw bombs at you instead of breathing fire. So you can, and there's actually a pillar in the final boss room that works very nicely as a place you can stand where he'll throw it without moving towards you. So you can actually keep him in a very optimal position. So we're just gonna mash through the text that King Boo says here. He's just like blah blah blah. You finally found me. Big mistake. Whatever. He'll be dead in 2 minutes. Yeah. My PB is 105.54. So, we're just gonna do this. There is a possibility that I could 2-cycle, but there is kind of a bit of RNG that makes it difficult sometimes. If I get him below 250 on the first cycle, then there's a good chance that I could 2-cycle. If I don't get him below 250, then I can actually manipulate him and purposefully keep him above 200 on the second cycle. So then Bowser won't move in the third cycle, and we can get a good 3-cycle. Some people are saying this might be a PB. What timer am I using?
That might be a PB, you never know.
Who knows? Alright. So there's an invisible wall that spawns in front of Bowser's head. So you actually have to go at a bit of an angle there.
I find it better to walk towards the door and then shoot him.
I've been hit by ice, so I won't 2-cycle, but I can still 3-cycle pretty easily.
Can you get the fast 3?
Yeah, I can get the fast 3. I dropped him at 354, I think, which is nowhere near optimal. So we're going to purposefully keep him above 200 here. Ooh, okay, I've been hit by ice again, so he's at 253. So this might not 3-cycle. This is actually not a very good fight. I might actually die. Hopefully not.
Oh god, I hope you don't die.
Don't worry. I'm a professional.
So if you get close enough to Bowser, he will do what we like to call the wombo combo. He will suck you into his mouth, chew on you, and then spit you out. But you can't move until after he lights you on fire. So it's a 1-2 punch with his attacks.
And it does 40 HP of damage.
And it's yeah, it is a wombo combo, and it's terrible.
Wombo combo. Ah, okay.
Happy feet.
Happy feet. Alright, so this is looking fine. I'm down to 12 HP, but we should be fine here. And time. So what was the time on that there?
I'm watching.
If he started the timer late, then this might not be a PB, but this looks like it actually could be a PB.
That'd be really
And
nice. Marathon PB.
nice. The time was 1:05:17.
Channel switched.
So that is a PB if he didn't start the timer late.
Sound resumed.
But he. All right,
PB
so
spam.
that was a PB. All right,
Nice. Marathon PB.
User joined
All right,
your
thank you
channel.
guys so
Hello.
much. That is
Hello.
my time up.
Good run, dude. Good run.
GG.
It was a really good run. I actually
Was
had some
pretty
pretty
good.
decent mistakes in there, but I'm surprised. That was good. Thanks so much, guys.